In a nutshell, SNAP has two missions: to protect the wounded, to protect the vulnerable, and heal the wounded. And that's what we try to do at each one of our events. Today, we're protecting the vulnerable by pointing out that there are 4 credibly accused priests who we know molested elsewhere, and they were exposed elsewhere. And the first 2 were deemed credibly accused by Catholic officials elsewhere. But we're bringing them up today, obviously, because they lived and worked in Colombia. And where do people go? They oftentimes go back to places where they lived and hang around with people who they once lived with. And so Father Basket is deceased, but the other 3 are alive. And it's conceivable that Father Gummersbach, even though he's originally from St. Louis, it's conceivable that once a year he comes back to Rolla, where he worked, and he vacations with, he meets a family at the lake from Rolla, a devout Catholic family, and could literally be this weekend molesting the grandkids, because again, his name is not on the credibly accused. Begging Bishop McKnight to add every single credibly accused priest, nun, bishop, monk, seminarian to his list. If your goal is to protect kids, then let's err on the side of transparency and openness and include everybody. Don't split hairs, don't make excuses. The bishop could say, well, Father Lazinki is from Joliet, Illinois. He wasn't ordained here. Or Father Roberts is originally from Dallas. He wasn't born in our diocese. Or Father Basket spent time mostly in Kansas City and never had official faculties or permission to work here as a priest. And all of that may be true. But again, if there's one person out there who is molested today, tomorrow, or next week by one of these priests, that's obviously of great concern. And if there's one person in this diocese, maybe living off by themselves up by the Iowa border, who was sexually violated by Father Ken Roberts here years ago, and she's suffering in silence and shame and self-blame, then the bishop needs to reach out to her and let her know that we know he's a dangerous person, we know he's a predator. So the second problem with Bishop McKnight's accused priest list, the first problem is that it's incomplete. It doesn't have all the names. The second problem is it's not nearly as helpful as it can be, and that's because Bishop McKnight refuses to list all the places where these predators worked. And so that falls on us to do. A couple of months ago, we were over at a different church in town and noted that these 2 priests, Father Alar and Father Brooke, both accused, they worked in Colombia, and today we're disclosing that these 3 priests, Father John Long, Father Don Wallace, and Father John Fisher, also worked in Colombia. Our message to the bishop, again, is post these names of the priests, but also post where they were and where they are now. That's how you protect kids. And our message to Catholics and citizens of Colombia, if you know of or suspect any wrongdoing by these priests or other church employees, please pick up the phone and call law enforcement. This is not just a sin, it's a crime, and it should be dealt with as a crime. And increasingly, we're thrilled by the fact that law enforcement across this country is being much more aggressive and much more creative by going after even older sex crimes and older cover-ups. So if you know something, or you suspect something, however small, however old, however seemingly insignificant that information might be, call law enforcement. It's our job as citizens to tell the police and prosecutors what we know and suspect. If you were hurt by anybody in the church, I can tell you from my own experience and from being involved in SNAP for more than 30 years, you can get better. You can heal. It never goes away. The pain is always there, but it doesn't need to rule your life. It can be manageable. But it doesn't go away if you try to carry the burden alone. So please, if you were hurt by any religious figure, find the courage and strength to do what thousands of men and women have done. Break your silence. Reach out to somebody you know and love and trust, whether it's a parent, a brother, a sister, a best friend, a therapist, or the police or prosecutors or a support group like us. Please step forward. That's the way you begin to heal, and that's the way you protect